Assalamu alaikum. Hello, dear students. How are you? Hope this video class will find you in good health and with a sound mind. Okay, today I'm here again to spend some time with you to help you with your English. Okay, let me introduce myself first. This is Aminul Islam, your English teacher, and this class has been created for the students of class 9 and 10. The subject is English second paper, as usual, grammar part. Okay, today's topic is clauses. And some of you may be astonished to see why you are going to learn clauses. Actually, you may think that clauses or this topic is not included to your syllabus. I agree with you. Clauses is not included directly to your syllabus, but if you have the basics of clauses, you can do a lot of things. And there are many items which are completely related to or based on clauses. Okay, you see the item number 7, completing sentence. If you have if you have a good foundation of clauses, you can do this activity or the completing sentence quite easily. And also very well, simple complex compound sentences, you can change these sentences only you have the foundation of clauses, only you have the idea of clauses. Okay, and the item number 10, sentence connectors. If you have the basics of clauses, a basic idea of clauses, then you can do these gap filling activities quite easily. And also whatever you go in your in English language and literature, and whatever you like to write, clauses will help you. So the importance of clauses can't be described in words or sentences quite easily. It's really important. That's why I've chosen this topic for you today. And soon we are going to learn simple complex compound sentences and sentence connectors and also completing sentence maybe. Okay, just uh, stay tuned. Okay, move on to the next slide. Yes, here's your C for a group of words. Since she is meritorious. Since she is meritorious. I think this is not expressing something clearly. Since she is meritorious, that means you are waiting to hear something more. Uh, because this group of words can't express itself the meaning quite clearly. So let's see what comes next. Yes, she always makes a good result. Since she is meritorious, she always makes a good result. Then I think it can be a good sentence. Yes, you see, since she is meritorious, she always makes a good result. Now it's a sentence, and this sentence has two parts, I think. Okay, now can you guess what we are going to learn today? Okay, there are lots of things are waiting for you. Okay, so today you're going to learn clauses. Let's move on to the next slide. What it says, clause. Clause is called the basic unit of English grammar. Yes, it's the basic unit, as I mentioned it earlier. Okay, then what are the learning outcomes from today's class? By the end of this lesson, the students will be able to define clause, differentiate between phrases and clauses, define principal clause and subordinate clause, and coordinate clause. Sorry, and identify different types of dependent clauses and have idea about noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. Okay, then join sentences together with conjunctions in given activity. Then, last but not the least, take a short quiz related to clause. Okay, then move on to the next. What comes next? Say, let's say, yes, clause versus phrase. Okay, let's see the difference between these two things. You see, a clause means a group of words or phrases that includes a subject and a verb, and forms a sentence or part of a sentence. This makes a clause different from phrase because a phrase doesn't contain a subject and a verb. Okay, now uh, have you understood what is the difference between these two things? Clause has the clause must have a subject and a verb, and phrase doesn't. Okay, let's see the example. After dinner, we grabbed ice cream. Phrase, and you see also clause. After we had finished dinner, we grabbed ice cream. This one is clause. Then what is the difference? You see, when the bold letters, that means um, group of words. First one, you see there is no subject, no verb after dinner. And in the second one, that means when it's indicating clause, after we had finished dinner. Here we is the subject and had finished is the verb. That means this is the clause, and before the previous one, after dinner, is not a clause because it hasn't any subject and verb. So whenever you see this type of group of words, you just see whether there is any subject or verb. When you find a subject and a verb, then it must be a clause, and if you don't find this, then it can't be a clause. It's just a phrase, a group of words. Okay, now we have known a clause must have a group of words and a subject verb combination and a complete meaning by itself. Yes, here you see, they built a tower in a year. They built a tower in a year. Is the above group of words a clause? That means they built a tower in a year. Is the above group of words a clause? Is it a clause? And does the group of words satisfy all the three conditions? Above three conditions. That means a group of words, subject verb combination, a complete meaning by itself. Let's check. You see, uh, they built tower in a year. It's a group of words. They built a tower, and it has a subject and verb. That means subject verb combination you find. They subject, built is the verb. So subject verb combination you easily get it here. And you see, they built a tower in a year. I think this group of words can uh, express its complete meaning easily by itself. So they built a tower in a year is a clause. Got it? Yes, see, here is an example. I took the baby to the park. In the above sentence, there is one subject, I, and one predicate, took. Since they are working together to form a comprehensible sentence, this sentence has one clause. I took the baby to the park. Okay, this sentence has one clause. That means we actually know this is a simple sentence. Okay, we'll know a lot of things soon. But when there are two or more clauses in the same sentence, you see previous one, I took the baby to the park. Here is only one clause. Okay. The last sentence you see, this sentence has one clause. But when there are two or more clauses in the same sentence, you see the clause that is dependent on another clause to make a complete sense is called a subordinate or dependent clause. Got it? You see, the clause that is dependent on another clause to make a complete sense is called a subordinate or dependent clause, and the principal clause or independent clause can make a complete sense by itself. It doesn't have to depend on any other clause. Then I think you have already got the kinds of clauses. So there are two types of clauses: independent or principal clause and dependent or subordinate clause. Have you got it? Yes, the first one is here. The first one is dependent or subordinate clause, and second one is principal clause or independent clause. Okay, so there are two types of clauses: independent or principal, and dependent or subordinate clauses. Okay, let's move on to the next. Read the following sentences. Here are two sentences you see. They often go to Italy because they love the food. And the next one is, we know that Haji Muhammad Mohsin was a very kind man. Look, both the sentences have a connective word or conjunction. Now find the conjunctions that join two parts of the sentences. Have you already found the conjunction in these two sentences? What are the conjunctions? Yes, see, in the first sentence, because is the conjunction or connective word, they often go to Italy and they love the food. These two clauses or these two parts have been joined by this connective word conjunction because. And next one, you see that we know is a clause and Haji Muhammad Mohsin was a very kind man. This is another clause, and these two clauses have been joined by the connective word conjunction that. Okay, now here's a quiz. Here's a quiz for you. Which clauses are independent? You see, there is a list of sentences, and you have to find out which clauses are independent. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Okay, I'm reading it out to you. They build a tower. When you work carefully, enough will excel in the varsity team. If the tower falls, next one, whoever is the youngest, and all school children can play, and how high you can build. And last one is, Hassan has been dreaming to be a scientist. Okay, which clauses are independent? Have you already found out? Okay, if you're not, let's see. First one, they built a tower because there is a subject, built is a verb, then it a tower and it can express the meaning by itself. So it can be an independent clauses. Independent clause. Next one, Anna will excel in the varsity team. Then this one is you see the subject and a verb, and it can express its meaning by itself. So it's an independent clause. Next one is see, all school children can play. This one is also an independent clause because this group of words can express the meaning by itself. And next one, Hassan has been dreaming to be a scientist. This one is also an independent clause because you see subject verb combination and uh, this group of words can express the meaning by itself, so it's an independent clause. Then the others, you see dependent clauses, fragments, they are just fragments, they are parts, they are not full or complete, and they are just only part of sentence, and they must join with independent clauses. You see, first one, when you work carefully, then you are waiting to hear something more. What happens if the tower falls, and blah blah blah. Okay, let's see. First one, if you join an independent clause here, such as you won't make a mistake with the dependent clause when you work carefully, then it can be a complete sentence, and uh, these two parts can now express the meaning by itself. So you won't make a mistake when you work carefully. It has a complete sense. So it's now complete sentence. And next one, you see, if the tower falls, you have to join an independent clause. The game is over. And you see next one, whoever is the youngest, you have to join an independent clause. Can go first. And last one, it's fun to see how high you can build. Now, these four sentences have become uh, complete sentences with complete sense. Okay, now actually these are one type. These are actually one type of completing sentence that I said about this earlier. Yeah, about your grammar item number 7, the completing sentences. Here we have already done this. Okay, just stay with me. We'll see a lot of things. Okay, next, what is coming for you? Here's an activity for you. Now read the sentences and find the dependent clause and independent clause here. Okay, here's a list of sentences and you have to find out the dependent clause and independent clause. You have to just separate. You have to just separate dependent clause and independent clause. And if you are confident, just pause the video here and start doing this. And if you think that you don't have time now, like me, okay, just move on with me. Just proceed. Okay. Now you see the solution. Here the um, here the uh, blue color bold letters or bold part is the dependent clause, and the black bold part is the independent clause. Okay, I know is the independent clause, and what is the dependent clause? And then next one, the pen is lost is the independent clause, and that father gave me is the dependent clause. Number 3, he cannot do this independent unless you help him dependent. Number 4, listen to independent at what your teachers say dependent. And 5, when you have finished your lessons dependent, you can play games independent. 6, as he was kind dependent, and he used to help the poor people independent. And 7, he woke up independent because he heard a sound in his room dependent clause. Okay. Okay, and if you already finished by yourself this part, match this thing, this solution with your solution. Okay, let's see what comes next. Three types of dependent clauses. Yes, this one is very important. You see three types of dependent clauses. First one is noun clause, and second one is adjective clauses, and the third one is adverb clauses. So here we find three types of dependent clauses: noun clauses, adjective clauses, and adverb clauses. And all dependent clauses must combine with an independent clause to form a complete sentence. You see, these noun clause, adjective clause, or adverb clauses can express their meaning by itself. They must combine with an independent clause. They must combine with an independent clause to form a complete sentence. Okay? You see, dependent clause plus independent clause equal to complex sentence. That means one dependent clause and one independent clause can make a complex sentence. Now we have already got what complex sentence is. Okay, combinations of dependent and independent clauses. Okay, yes, the complex sentence. Complex sentence, one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. These two things must have a complex sentence. A complex sentence must have one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. And compound sentence, at least two independent clauses. Yes, see, compound sentences, there is no dependent clauses. Here are also clauses, but these clauses must be independent clauses in compound sentence. These are also called coordinating conjunctions. Okay, coordinating conjunctions adding such as but, or, and, etc. These are coordinating conjunctions, and adding this, we can join two independent clauses together to make a complete sentence, a bigger sentence. Okay. Next one, complex compound sentence. First one is complex sentence, second one is compound sentence, and last one is complex compound sentence. How is it? At least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. And we have already known that complex sentence, one independent, one dependent; compound sentence, two independent; and complex compound, when it is compound, it must have two independent, and as there is also complex, so there should be one dependent clause. Okay, these are the combinations of dependent and independent clauses. Okay, now let's see dependent clauses, noun clause, and we will explain noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause uh, successively. Okay, noun clause. Okay, a noun clause is a group of words acting together as a noun. A noun clause is a group of words acting together as a noun. Okay, you see there are how these noun clauses can act in a sentence. You see, first one, subject of a verb. That means noun clause can act as a subject of a verb. You see, what Raphael said made his friends cry. Here, made is the verb, and what Raphael said is the noun clause, and this is the subject of verb made. Next one, how the boy behaved is the subject of the verb was, and how the boy behaved was not very polite. So we have already found noun clause in these two sentences, and they are working as the subject of a verb. Next one is say object of a verb. Yes, here didn't know why the step wasn't working. Here you see no is the verb, and why the step wasn't working is the object of the verb no. And next one, she didn't realize that the directions were wrong. That the directions were wrong is the object of the of the verb realize. So I've already found out the object of a verb or noun clauses in these two sentences, which are working as the object of a verb. And then subject complement. You see, Himu's problem was that he didn't practice enough. What is his problem? That he didn't practice enough is his problem. So here that he didn't practice enough is the subject complement and working as a noun, uh, and it's a noun clause and it's working as a subject complement. Next one, Ashik's excuse for being late was that he forgot to set his alarm. What was his excuse for being late? What was his excuse for being late? That he forgot to set his alarm. This is the excuse. Okay, and it's also working as acting as the subject complement. Okay, and yes, the subject complement always modify, describe, or complete the subject of a clause. And next one, the last one, object of a preposition. Preposition for and of. You say Aftab is not responsible for what Jishan decided to do. You see, the preposition for, and here is the object of the of this preposition for is what Jishan decided to do. So generally you will find the preposition for and of, which are used before the noun clause or and working as the object of preposition. These noun clauses. Okay. Next one is Alex is the owner of that blue car parked outside. That blue car parked outside is the noun clause and is the object of preposition of. Okay, I think you have already got an idea about noun clause in these four examples, four types of uh, acting of noun clauses. Okay, and how to spot a noun clause? How will you detect or how will you find it? One of the easiest ways to spot a noun clause is to look for these words. You see, whenever you find in any phrase, in any clause that how, that, what, whatever, when, where, whether, which, whichever, whoever, whom, whomever, why. Uh, Whenever you see this type of these words, and you can easily find out the noun clause. Okay, and you see adjective clause. This one is quite easier. You see, adjective clauses begin with relative pronouns including who, whom, whose, that, which, and also they may also begin with relative adverbs such as when, where, why. Seems simple enough, right? Let's dive right into some different examples of adjective clauses. These are different, obviously. As soon as you see adjective clauses in action, you will be able to spot them from a mile away. Okay, you see adjective clauses in action. Adjective clauses don't usually change the basic meaning of a sentence. Rather, they clarify the writer's intent. Okay, They don't change the basic meaning. Here are some example sentences with the adjective clause underlined. You say, those people whose names are on the list will go can. Whose names are on the list is the adjective clause, and next one is fast food, which most people love, is not very healthy. And this one, when used with a comma, here adjective clause, this adjective clause has a different characteristic. This can be left out quite easily. Fast food is not very healthy. Okay, and it can express its meaning quite easily. And you see, students who are intelligent get good grades. And I know someone whose father served in the Liberation War of Bangladesh. And eco-friendly cars that run on electricity help the environment. The kids who were called first will have the best chance of getting a seat. And next one is the quote of Irma Bomberg. Okay, never go to a doctor whose office plants have died. Interesting. Never go to a doctor whose office plants have died. Because a doctor, we usually consider a doctor must have the sympathy for the people, and um, if he has a plant, if he doesn't have a plant in his lab or in his chamber, then the doctor may not have the sympathy for people. It's just a quote, and different people may think it differently. Different people may take it in a different way. Okay, let's see now adverb clause. Okay, an adverb clause functions as an adverb in a sentence. The clause can modify or describe verbs. The clause can modify, describe verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. And you already know how adverb actually uh, works, or how adverbs usually modify, and what they modify actually. Uh, so this adverb clause or adverb clause act similarly uh, as adverb. Okay, let's see what comes. Adverb clauses are flexible. Yes, these adverb clauses are flexible. How they are flexible? Yes, it can be placed at the beginning, middle, or end of a sentence, depending on where it sounds best. Yes, you can place it anywhere, at the beginning, middle, or at the end of the sentence. But if you have to consider, or you have to see whether which place will be best for this um, its placing. Okay, examples: unless you run fast, you will miss the bus. Because he loves reading, he can't live without reading any book. And the next one: although David has a science degree, he is working as a banker. And these three sentences have the adverb clause or adverbial clause at the beginning. Next one: my father, when he is angry, will turn red in the face. Here, the adverb clause is at the end. Next one: I'll continue my research work as I'll be working on the project. Here you see, the adverbial clause is at the end of the sentence. And here are more subordinate conjunctions to form adverb clauses. However, remember, this is not the complete list. Okay, and something that adjective clauses and adverb clauses have in common is they both can be reduced to phrases. Yes, adjective clause and adverb clause can be reduced to phrases. Example, you say adjective clauses to adjective phrase. The boy who is leading the parade is my friend, is my best friend. And next one, when it's a phrase, the boy leading the parade is my best friend. Here, who is leading the parade? And this adjective clause has been changed to a phrase leading the parade. Okay, and adverb clause to add. Sorry, it's mistake. Adverb clause to adverb phrase. Give us a call when you get back from your trip. give us a call getting back from a trip. Yes, adverb clause to adjective phrase. Okay, both adjective clause and adverb clause can be reduced to phrases, and these things or this change uh, now have become to adjective phrases. Now, activity 2. Combine each of the following sentences with suitable conjunctions. Now, if you are confident, just pause the video here and start doing this. And if you think you don't have time like me, then proceed. Okay, let's see the solutions to activity 2. Okay, here is the solution. You see, first one. When this is the place, the mill is here, and you see the number 1. This is the place where the man lives. And you see, next, number 2, he kept silent. I know the reason. These two sentences have been how they are joined. You see, I know the reason why he kept silent. And number 3, he says this, it is true. What he says is true. Suitable connections. We are just stating suitable connections. Okay. And last one, Mohsin was sleeping. Atif entered the room. Atif entered the room when Mohsin was sleeping. Okay, and if you have already done this activity in your exercise book, just match your solution or your work with this solution. Okay, let's move on to the next. What comes next? Let's see. Okay, let's see. Now, how well you followed. Now, take a short quiz to review. Okay, first time, I just want to check your whether you followed it well or not. Number 1, what kind of clause can stand alone as a complete sentence? What kind of clause can stand alone as a complete sentence? Number 2, what do all clauses have? Number 3, how can you fix a fragment? For example, when I woke up, how can you fix this? Number 4, which clauses can be the object of a verb? Which clauses can be the object of a verb? Number 5, when do adjective clauses need commas? When do adjective clauses need commas? Number 6, what kinds of words help us form adverb clauses and connect them to independent clauses? Repeating, what kinds of words help us form adverb clauses and connect them to independent clauses? Okay, this is the actually it's a quiz for you. I just want to review what you have learned. Okay, uh, we have come to the end of today's class. So that's it for today. Remain sound. Best of luck. Allah Hafiz.